Welcome to the deep dive. Imagine spending years, I mean literally years, writing 92 highly technical tutorials.
Yeah, and on one of the most famously difficult programming languages in the world, too.
Right. You are deep in the weeds of complex computer science, but then, in that exact same month, you publish this massive, meticulous thesis on how to properly balance the diet of a goldfish.
It is quite the pivot, you know?
It really is. And today, we are looking at a guy who did exactly that. Our mission here isn't just to learn a neat trick for the Haskell programming language.
No, we want to explore the mindset of a really prolific, lifelong learner.
Exactly. The source material is a single blog post from March 26, 2026. It's by a self-described old software plumber named Ang.
And he published this on his personal site, qianmyang.org.
Yeah, and this is specifically part 92 of his notes on Haskell programming, which that staggering number immediately tells you we are dealing with someone deeply committed to incremental learning.
Oh, absolutely. Part 92 is not a beginner's weekend project.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because we are looking at how a developer streamlines their workflow to remove friction and, what the sheer volume of a person's side hobbies tells us about the nature of problem solving.
Right, so the main technical goal in this specific post is all about breaking out of a testing sandbox. He wants to move away from these interactive GHCI sessions and hard-coded test functions. Instead, he's modifying his script to handle input text files directly from the command line.
And if you are familiar with coding, you know that shift is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it really is. He starts by explicitly tidying up his imports. He adds exactly what's needed for the new file handling, and he hides the rest.
Which is just good housekeeping.
Exactly. Then he renames his original function, it used to be just called parse, and he changes it to parsefile.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, and he adds a new argument for the file name. But he explicitly uses the file path type for this argument, which replaces the hard-coded string he was using before.
And file path is really just an alias for a string, right?
It is, yeah. Under the hood, it's just text.
Yeah.
But what's fascinating here is why this shift matters. It represents a maturation in the development process.
Right.
By explicitly using file path, he's signaling human intent. He's moving from mere experimentation to building standalone functional tools.
It's like, well, working in that interactive session, the GHCI, it's kind of like riding a bike on a test track.
That's a great way to put it. It's totally safe.
Yeah, you have training wheels, you have a controlled environment, but moving to a command line script, that is like finally taking the bike out onto the open road.
Yes, exactly. You are interacting with the unpredictable real world.
But, taking a script to the open road usually means adding a bunch of heavy, complex tools to make sure it doesn't crash.
Which is the modern developer instinct, right? Reach for a massive framework.
Exactly. But Ang does the exact opposite here, which leads us right into his minimalist approach to tooling.
Yeah, he avoids complexity entirely. For instance, to handle those command line arguments, he uses the standard library's getargs function.
Just a built-in tool.
Right. He actively chooses not to reach for a heavy external dependency, like opparse applicative.
Which is a super popular library. I mean, it handles all the edge cases and makes beautiful help menus.
It does. But Ang just decides it's not worth the architectural weight for this script. He wants to keep it lean.
That makes sense for an old software plumber. Why build a complex filtration plant when a PVC pipe does the job?
Exactly. And that minimalist mindset leads him to another discovery in the post. He reveals that he uses the runghc command to run scripts without manual compilation.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because I have to push back on this a bit.
Oh.
Yeah. If Ang has written 92 posts on Haskell, how is he just now discovering runghc?
That's a fair question.
I mean, it runs on the bytecode interpreter, which is the same engine as the REPL he's been using. Shouldn't an expert already know this foundational shortcut?
Well, this highlights the nonlinear reality of learning. It's not a straight path from A to B.
You mean you don't just read the manual front to back?
Nobody does. You could be 92 lessons deep into complex logic, wrestling with monads, and still discover foundational shortcuts that you just never needed before.
Because manual compilation was working fine for him up to that point.
Right. He didn't optimize it until it became a point of friction.
Mm-hmm.
And he's incredibly vulnerable about this, actually.
Yeah, he admits that Haskell is finally feeling comfortable.
Mm-hmm. He says it reads a bit like Elixir to him now, which is a very developer-friendly language. Mm-hmm. But in the same breath, he admits he still struggles with the Haskell alphabet soup.
Oh, the alphabet soup. If you've ever stared at a dense line of custom operators and symbols, you know that panic.
Yeah, it just looks like punctuation spilled on a keyboard.
But the fact that he openly documents these blind spots, I
Yeah.
mean, his incremental discoveries, his beginner struggles, it's not just a coding habit.
No, it's not.
It's a massive overarching life philosophy.
Right.
And you can see it across his entire website.
Yeah, if you zoom out and look at the surrounding context of the blog, it is staggering. He isn't just writing about Haskell.
Not at all. In March 2026 alone, he published 78 posts.
Wait, 78 in 1 month.
In 1 month. And he's been blogging consistently like this since 2011. He publishes hundreds of posts every year.
That is just relentless consistency.
And it's the diverse ecosystem of his hobbies that really gets me. He's not just coding in Go, Rust, Python, and Erlang.
Right, he has entirely different categories of deep dives.
Yeah, he's doing deep dives into fish keeping. He writes about balancing goldfish diets, managing dominant fish, and exploring ram's horn snails.
Wow.
And then gardening. He tracks propagating Brazilian spinach, the little ironweed, and how to deal with leggy seedlings.
Just the wildly diverse set of interests.
So what does this all mean? To me, it seems like his brain operates like a massively parallel processing system.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Right, whether he's analyzing Wi-Fi 7MSE formats or managing beta spawn logs or even trying to understand icosapentaenoic acid in his diet.
Which is incredibly specific, by the way.
Very specific. But he applies the exact same open source tinkerer methodology to all of it. Identify the friction, run an A/B test, and document the results.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it makes perfect sense. On his site, Ang lists his support for floss-free Libre and open source software.
Right, organizations like the EFF, the FSF, and the Tor project.
Exactly, and that philosophy directly mirrors how he treats his own life.
How so?
Well, knowledge, whether it's about a Haskell command or a flame dwarf cultivar, it's meant to be open. It's meant to be shared, meticulously tracked, and free of corporate polish.
He even has that disclaimer that his opinions don't represent his employers, right?
Yeah, he's building his knowledge completely in public. So for you listening, think about your own hobbies.
Yeah, how does your day job bleed into your weekend?
Exactly. How might the analytical skills you use at work be secretly powering your weekend gardening? Or vice versa. The methodology is universal.
It really is. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today. We went from a specific code tweak, replacing a hard-coded string,
To the minimalist beauty of runghc.
yeah, to the realization that learning a programming language is just one small garden plot in a massive ecosystem of curiosity.
It's a great perspective to have. And there's one final provocative thought I want to leave you with today.
Oh, let's hear it.
Well, Ang meticulously tracks his successes, like reading Haskell comfortably. But he also tracks his mundane failures, like his battles with leggy seedlings.
Great, the messy stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We live in a world where we are pressured to only show our final, polished achievements. So you have to ask yourself, does hiding our messy beginner mistakes prevent us from achieving true mastery?
Does hiding our own personal alphabet soup actually hold us back?
I think Ang's archive strongly suggests that it does. You have to be willing to wade through the mess in public.
You really do. Don't be afraid to take your code out of the sandbox and onto the open road.
Even if you crash a few times.
Exactly. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep tinkering, keep exploring, and whatever you're learning this week, don't be afraid to document your own alphabet soup. See you next time.